And welcome everybody to this webinar utility benchmarking program for the Danube region utilities. My name is Philip Weller. I'm the head of the technical secretariat for the International Association of Water Service Companies in the Danube catchment area. And I will moderate this session and provide guidance to the event to facilitate the discussion. And I will introduce the speakers. Before I hand the floor over to the IWD President, Walter Kling, I just wanted to go through a couple of housekeeping issues. This session will be recorded and would be available on demand. We have a very good number of you persons who have joined this program from utilities, but also I think from the regulatory community, plus also some government agencies, both within Europe and I think in some cases from other parts of the world. The webinar is an event, or the recording will be published on the Voice of the Danube website. If you've not used the Voice of the Danube website, I would encourage you to do so. It's a repository of information about the Danube Water Program, about IWD, about the Danube Learning Partnership, and really an excellent place for information about water services and water issues within the Danube region. We will have the opportunity for all of you who are participating, for you to participate using the chat function. You can use this chat box for general requests or interactions with other participants. You can send comments to all participants or to specific persons who you want to address. In addition, there's a question and answer box, and we would really encourage you to use this, particularly in the session that will conclude just before or between 1340 and 1410, when there will be two presentations. Unfortunately, one of our guests is not able to be with us today, Ivana Stanisic, but our two presenters who will make a short presentation, and then there will be a question and answer and discussion period. You're also free to raise your hand, and in that way, then I can recognize that you have an interest to interact or at least to communicate or have communicated something. With that, all I can do is we will not respond to it, I should say, sorry, the raising of your hand, but we will be able to at least see from where it's coming from. In any case, as I say, welcome on behalf of IWD to this webinar, and I would turn the floor over now to the President of IWD, Walter Kling, for introductory and welcoming remarks. Walter.
Thank you, Phil, and welcome to all participants in today's webinar on benchmarking. Well, as Phil was saying, it's one of the tasks of IWD to develop good cooperation amongst the utilities in the Danube catchment area with a strong partner. And again, I want to say thanks to the World Bank for almost now 9 years gathering with us together to develop the Danube Water Program. And as one of the key activities which we have in the Danube Water Program, benchmarking is one of the issues which we strongly developed under the frame of and the support of the World Bank in the Danube Water Program, but which we also definitely will continue once this is closed, because we do realize how strong the interest of various utilities is to be part of this utility benchmarking program. Personally, I also want to welcome my colleagues from Vienna Water, which are participating in today's promotion event, because Vienna Water also is preparing to join the utility benchmarking program to strongly show how interested we are as well in Vienna. But probably one of the good benchmarks, but one of the interesting benchmarks for you, but also to show how strong the interest is to support this benchmarking program. Let me just point out that it's not only the issue to compare utilities against each other, it's also learning about the exercise of appropriate data collection to really learn to understand your utility and help that this exercise grows your capacity into providing appropriate data, even in programs if you apply for various activities of the European Union or whatever exercise you're going through. So from my experience as a utility director here in Vienna Water, I'd like to welcome you also in my capacity as the president of IEWD. And I hope this next hour will be interesting for you and encourage you to join our program of IEWD. Phil, back to you.
Thank you, Walter, for those introductory and welcoming remarks. And it's obviously for the utility benchmarking program very good that Vienna Waterworks will join this program and contribute to providing the kind of inputs that the utility of that nature can. As you mentioned, many of the activities that have been carried out by IEWD in the last period have been done together with our colleagues from the World Bank and under the framework of the Danube Water Program, which has been supported by the Ministry of Finance of Austria, as well as being linked together in terms of cooperation in various countries. We have worked on various benchmarking programs together. And I would like to give the floor to Stefan Gabric then for his welcoming words. Stipe, your microphone's not working somehow at the moment. Yeah, he's, I think, gonna you reconnect or okay. What I will do is we'll get started and then we'll come back to you then, and hopefully the sound will be able to be happening. Once again, the World Bank is together with IWD managing the Danube Water Program. There have been two different types of benchmarking activities, one of which has been the utility benchmarking program, which is oriented towards helping utilities improve themselves and cooperating together with other utilities who are doing so. In addition, the World Bank has been actively supporting overall performance indicator data collection in
Phil, can you hear me now?
of the region. Yeah, now we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, that's happening with my computer after recent Windows update. Very shortly, just to give a little bit of World Bank perspective, years ago, the World Bank was just financing water supply and sanitation infrastructure, but then it was quickly noticed that this only achieved partially results, and the objective was always to improve the quality of the service delivered in water supply and sanitation. Therefore, in the past, already more than a decade, investment in water supply and sanitation always joined with the effort to improve performance of water utilities that are participating in the World Bank project. Benchmarking seems to be foundation of this World Bank effort. So in this moment, typical World Bank investment in water supply and sanitation will include investment in the physical infrastructure, will include different performance improvement activities, and will also include establishment or support of certain benchmarking platform, at least for the utilities that are participating on the project. Part of this transition and part of this trend in the World Bank was establishment of IBNet. That's basically a global benchmarking platform that's supported by the World Bank. But overall, the bank has already some time ago recognized that there is no improvement in the service quality without improvement of performance, and there is no improvement of performance without adequate benchmarking effort. Therefore, this is why the World Bank is getting so much involved. As Phil and Walter already said, the World Bank together with the IAVD is already now for 9 years implementing the new water program. Our teams work jointly, and as a part of this program, we have directly supported benchmarking in some countries of the region, namely Serbia and Montenegro, and will continue at least until the end of this year. Hopefully also will continue for some kind of similar coordinated effort of interested countries and association also in the next phase that in this moment is under preparation. So that was very briefly a standing point and how the World Bank see importance of performance improvement and the benchmarking in water supply and sanitation sector. and how much we, through this Danube Water Program, but also other activities, support establishment of benchmarking as a foundation for performance improvement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stipe. And as you've indicated, the cooperation between IWD and the World Bank in this collection and utilization of performance indicator information from utilities has been a very, very important activity. And I think the region, in a very strong way, has developed as one of the world leaders in this regard in being able to organize and collect the data. There's still much more work to be done, and we're now going to hear about the program of the utility benchmarking program from my colleague Katarina Schilling. Kathy, the floor is yours to introduce everybody here to the utility benchmarking program.
Yes, thank you, Phil. And let me share my presentation with you. So I'm going to talk about the utility benchmarking program and provide you a short introduction into the UBP, as we call it for short. But before I start to talk about the UBP, I would like to say a few words about IWD. As you have heard, IWD is the International Association of Water Service Companies in the Danube River catchment area. The name is quite a mouthful. That's why we use the abbreviation IWD. It has been founded in 1993, actually as a result of the fall of the Iron Curtain. And we are hosted by one of our founding members, which is Vienna Water. We believe in strength through cooperation, and we are only as strong as our members are. And that's why one of our objectives, or actually our mission, is to strengthen our members in delivering sustainable water services through cooperation, capacity development, and knowledge exchange. And we also aim to create a strong voice for improving water services and utility operation in the Danube region, which is the voice of the Danube. On the map here on the right-hand side, you can see an overview of our proud members list. We have three types of membership, which is utility members in red, association members in the dark blue, and institutional members in the light blue. Association means water utility associations, so just to be clear on that. So far, we have 51 members in 16 countries, 27 utilities, 10 associations, 14 institutions. And we are very pleased that in 2020, although it was quite a tricky year in terms of the pandemic, we were able to increase our membership with 8 new members, 4 utility members, and 4 institutional members. To review our offers, also to inquire about membership with IWD, or just look into the events happening in the region, please get in touch with us. The most easy way to do that is to have a look at the Voice of the Danube, which is our website, iwd.at, as you can see here. You can register for our weekly digest if you want to. That means you will just receive the latest updates on a weekly basis straightforward into your inbox. Voice of the Danube provides not only information on the latest news and events in the region, but also the Danube Toolbox, which is basically the full range of digital services of IWD. It includes all information on the benchmarking activities we have, also on the Danube Learning Partnership, as well as the Danube Library and also business opportunities. So get a look there, it's worth it, I think. In addition, we are present on social media, which is LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. So just have a look if you want to. The Danube Learning Partnership, I've mentioned already, we call it DLEAP for short. It is a regional initiative of national water utility associations, so our association members, and IWD. And it basically contains our capacity building offer for the utilities in the region. And as you can see here, we have a range of programs which are structured according to 3 types: foundations, technical, and implementation programs. The idea behind it is that with the foundation programs, you can identify the issues, the problems you have. With the technical programs, you can find the solutions, and with the implementation programs, you can implement the solution. And under the foundation programs, we have one of the most important is the utility benchmarking program. Just to also provide a short overview on the overall benchmarking strategy we have together with also the Danube Water Program. When you take a look at our website, you will also find danubis.org, which is a publicly available regional performance indicator database, which is based on the data fed into the international benchmarking network, which is run by the World Bank. In addition, we are working on a uniform performance indicator data collection on a national basis. We are using as a tool the Danubis data collection and management platform, which is owned by IWD and the other institutions that are using the system. And finally, again, here resides the utility benchmarking program, which is dedicated to utilities and their performance improvement. So what is actually benchmarking? According to the IWA task group on benchmarking, it is a tool for performance improvement through a systematic search and adaptation of leading practices. And it consists of 2 consecutive steps, which are the performance assessment and the performance improvement. So why should you join the utility benchmarking program? The UBP supports you with, on the one hand, assessing your performance, which is the first step, by collecting, validating, and analyzing your data in your own language. And what you can see here, and you will see more in detail later on, is a snapshot of our IWD utility benchmarking platform. It is owned by us, and we provide it to all the utilities which are participating in the UBP. In the next step, utilities can evaluate their performance by internal and external comparisons, which are the benchmarking reports, basically. And again, you can see here a snapshot of those reports, and you will see more later. And finally, utilities can discuss and plan their performance improvement with, in the frame of workshops, study tours, specialized reports, etc. How is the UBP set up? We have, for all our DLEAP activities, we rely on so-called hubs. And also the UBP is implemented via hubs, which are led by dedicated hub coordinators. You can see here that we have 3 national sub-regional hubs, which is Bulgaria, Ukraine, and sub-regional, as we call it, is the Albania-Kosovo hub, which shares the same language. That's why we merged it. And then we have on the Danube regional level, the so-called Danube hub. All of those hubs have an individual hub coordinator. A participating utility selects a dedicated utility coordinator to work on the UBP, and basically the hub coordinator and the utility coordinator are in a frequent exchange to work with each other. And since 2014, we have several cycles successfully delivered on an annual basis. So what are the benefits of the UBP? I've already mentioned we start with the performance assessment. So your data, if you're a utility, your data can be easily collected by yourself by using the IWD utility benchmarking platform. And each utility has an individual virtual workshop, including e-learning support with the hub coordinator to get to know the platform. In the next step, the performance evaluation, you will receive your own individual company report to check your data and identify performance gaps. And you can also compare to the other members of your hubs, to other hubs, and depending on which hub, to which hub you belong to, also to the Danube region. Just a few impressions how those reports looks like. Finally, the performance improvement. You will join benchmarking workshops to exchange knowledge and good practices. You can also participate in study tours. It also always depends a little bit in which hub you are joining, but almost all of them offer those study tours. And if you're a member of the Danube Hub, you can also attend the utility leaders dinners and meet to discuss results and address also improvements on a policy level. Here again, you can see some examples from our different networking and events and workshops. On this map, you can see an overview of the UBP family in 2020. We had 55 participating utilities in 2020, 12 in Albania, Kosovo hub, 6 in Bulgaria, 23 in total in Ukraine, and then the Danube hub with 17. And now just a few words on the individual hubs. The Bulgarian hub is active since 2014. It's managed by the Bulgarian Water Association. In total, 15 Bulgarian utilities have joined the hub so far. In 2020, as I just said, it was 6. The Albania and Kosovo hub is also active since 2014. It is managed by the National Water Associations of Albania and Kosovo, Shukalp and Shukos. And in 2020, overall 12 utilities joined, 5 from Albania, 7 from Kosovo. As you can see from the pictures, usually they have physical meetings, as you can see in February 2019. But of course, due to the pandemic, the hubs were also able to quickly switch and change to the virtual world and held an online meeting in May 2020. The Ukraine hub exists since 2015, and I will not tell more about it because in the next presentation you will hear from the Ukraine hub coordinator more details on the Ukrainian hub. Here just also pictures from the good old time where physical meetings were still possible, the benchmarking workshop in December 2019 and also the study tour in September 2019. And finally, as a closing, the picture of the Danube Hub workshop in Subotica. The Danube Hubs exist since 2017, and we are hoping to meet you all again, also physically, not only virtual, next year at the Danube Hub workshop. With this, I will conclude my presentation, and if you want to, please scan the QR code and have a look at the UBP program page on the Voice of the Danube, or reach out to us to inquire more information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathy. And that, I think, has given you a background on the utility benchmarking program. As Kathy's pointed out, it is a run on the hub basis with the involvement of utilities who want to utilize the services that IWD is providing, particularly the benchmarking platform that allows you to collect data on your utility more easily, and then have the opportunity to compare that, share that with other utilities. We will now turn to a short recorded statement from our hub coordinator in Ukraine. That's Victoria Iskova, who's running a program within Ukraine in a country that has not had much of a history of this kind of sharing of information amongst utilities, or in many instances, even the publicly available information, and has been very successful in creating an atmosphere amongst utilities where they can share experience, and have been doing so. Over 20 utilities participating in that program. Also combined, and must add in this case, with in the last year, with a World Bank project that is operating for the country, where the performance related to the investments that the World Bank is providing has also been able to be monitored in the context of this program. So if I could get Kathy to load up the presentation from Victoria. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Good morning, dear participants, dear colleagues. My name is Victoria Iskova. I'm the head of the Danube Water Center in Ukraine and coordinator of utility benchmarking program in Ukraine. And it's my pleasure today to introduce to you the experience of Ukrainian hub in implementation of utility benchmarking program in Ukraine. we started to implement a utility benchmarking program in Ukraine in 2015 in the frame of the Danube water program. At that time, the term benchmarking was new for utilities managers and specialists, and we had to start from the scratch with this activity in Ukraine. There were no analogical activities. In 2015, 8 water utilities participated in the first cycle of the program. Since 2015, we have already implemented six cycles, developed some of the program activities, and in previous cycle in 2020, 21 water utilities participated in the program, including 15 water utilities of the original UBP group and additionally 6 water utilities of the second urban infrastructure project of the World Bank. On the map of Ukraine, you can see how territorially allocated water utilities participants of the UBP. The general structure of the program in Ukraine, you can also see on the slide. Program starts with the training workshop, then we conduct data collection and data verification at least 2 times it's individually with each utility. And based on the collected data and calculated performance indicators, we produce individual reports for each water utility in local, in our case, Ukrainian language. And as a final step, we hold an annual international conference in Ukraine. Of course, the previous year was unusual for every country and for every person. The program was not an exception, so we had to adjust activities within the program and to hold planned events in virtual or online format. This year, taking into account the current situation in Ukraine related to the COVID-19 and quite slow vaccination process, we are going to hold the training workshop online, but we hope that the summarizing conference we will be able to hold in normal offline format. In my personal opinion, benchmarking is a unique tool for water utilities, especially when utilities are monopolists in their service territory as it is in Ukraine. So I just would like to list some of the key benefits of benchmarking activity for water utility. First of all, its methodology. Methodology is developed in accordance with the international standards, which provides objective assessment of the utility that meets international standards. In the same time, utility benchmarking platform allows to adjust questionnaires to the national specifics. Utility benchmarking program gives opportunity to look on the water utility from the other side, as there are a lot of indicators which are new in comparison to the data collected at the national level, for example, by the national regulator or relevant ministry. The program gives opportunity to be compared with similar water utilities, peers operating in the same country, as well as those operating in other countries, and to be able to study the best practices and modern solutions and to implement them at own utility. Experience exchange is a powerful way for further development of any kind of the enterprise, including utility. In Ukraine, a good outcome is also formation of an active profile group of specialists who become not just good colleagues, but friends, and creation of working network at national and international levels is one of the main benefits, in my opinion. I would like also to highlight the elements of the program. The first one is individual benchmarking report, which provides utilities management and staff with the quality data and information, with identification of main performance gaps and potential issues. Comparison to others, water utility can see own place among others, similar utilities with better level of indicators, and learn from them. Monitor the trend of the indicators in period and to see whether the situation is getting better or worse. It's a great tool and informative background for correct decision-making and moving toward the performance improvement. Another element, annual summarizing conference. It's not just an average event because it's based on the discussions of the benchmarking results of the performance assessment. It's event where you can share and where you can learn. Study tours is also a very good and quite necessary element of the UBP in Ukraine. Each year we conduct study tour to Bavaria in cooperation with Bavarian State Ministry of the Environment and Consumer Protection, including lectures and site visits, visiting about 16-20 water supply and sanitation facilities during the tour. And Summer Academy, it's like a bonus. It's academy for the young water professionals and organized by the Bavarian Ministry. And each year, Ministry provides us with 2-3 places, which we provide to water utilities on the competitive basis. And meetings and ongoing interaction with peers, colleagues, it's also a very valuable element of the program. Here you can see the picture of our hub, and you can see that our water family is quite big. On the top, it's from the conference, and in 2019, and our group is already much bigger. So thank you for your attention, and I hope it was informative for you, and I wish you an interesting event today.
Yeah, many thanks to Victoria, who was unfortunately not able to be with us. I believe at least one of the other coordinators, I think Nadira from Kosovo, is on the call with us. But the coordinators are essential for making sure that the program runs successfully. They're people who now have, I would say, very, very good experience in working with utilities and helping them both put in the data and organize the data, but also pulling the lessons out and organizing the cooperation amongst the people, and are essential to the program. And I will say at this point that we have a very, very good and dedicated group of people fulfilling those roles, and are very, very appreciative of the work that they have done. As has been said, in national languages, in Ukraine, in Bulgaria, in Kosovo and Albania, and the Danube Hub, which is run in English language. I will now turn to the activities of the Danube Hub and turn the floor over to the coordinator for that program, Alexandra Kristic, who has both been running the Danube Hub, which is the hub of larger utilities, I would say, in a general sense, but not always larger, and he will explain. But most important is providing a more broad comparison amongst utilities than is the case at a national level, which is usually more restricted, I think, in terms of the scale of operations or the types of comparisons that can be found. Alexandra has a little bit of a problem with his voice, I think, today, but he's going to try to do it in real time, but in the event that the voice fails him, I think we'll switch over to a recorded message. But Alexander, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Philip. Yes, I must apologize in advance that maybe I will sometimes need to break a little bit to clear my throat, but hopefully I will manage through presentation. So since Kati Schilling and Victoria presented utility benchmarking program, I will go in some more technical details about the program. Just a second. So just to, when it comes to UBP, first step in the process is, of course, to collect data and to verify the data. That is to create the database, which will then be used to assess performance of participating utilities. When using the platform, for example, when collecting data for a certain year, they will be able to see the name of variable. Each variable has additional explanation. Then, of course, there are fields to enter the data. There are certain fields which are calculated variables. So user can let the system to calculate certain variables according to these formulas. As users enter the data into the system, indicators are calculated and they are accessible to users. During entry of the data, users will be able to see also historical data for easier reference. Then we come to actual verification of the data. First, we have automatic verification, and that includes things like maximum change or maximum and minimum value. Then we have sorry, some things. I apologize. Validation by utility. Utility coordinators usually validate each variable, then send it to utility management, and management send it to the competent hub, where hub coordinator then again validates each data. During the whole process, data can go back and forward for improvement, or on the end goes to internal publishing for reporting. Oops, sorry for this. Finally, what I want to emphasize is that this is also a collaboration tool. For example, if you have a team that is working on non-revenue water, and let's say they could be in charge to only see and collect, to provide data to the platform on water volume data. And then you can spread this questionnaire, because questionnaire has in standard form almost 400 questions. So it is better to spread it to different sectors. So for example, person who would provide water volume data would provide only some 35 variables. In addition, what we did this year, we standardized names of variables a little bit, so that now the names of variables are a bit longer, but it is much more clear what information is needed. And in addition, for each group of variables, so for example, if we again have this person working on non-revenue water and entering data on water volume, that person will be able to click this icon and to open in DLIP Academy. So it is online academy of IAWD. The person will then open the 3 pages which are related to specific variables of this group. We also introduced a hierarchy. You can see these points and numbers as under this level column, and it essentially shows relations between different variables for easier reference. Then we come to reporting. Each utility gets standard report from each hub in which it participates. For example, Tirana participates in Albania and Kosovo hub, but also in the Danube hub. So Tirana will get 2 reports. In one, it will be compared with Albanian Kosovo hub utilities, and in the Danube hub report, it will be compared with Danube hub utilities. Kati showed these pictures, but this is shortly about presentation of context, performance overview per different indicators. Then indicators, individual indicators, just a second. I apologize. Different indicators are compared annually. Utility compares against itself in the past. Then indicator is compared with other utilities in the hub. Then it is compared with averages of other hubs, Danube hub database. And finally, variables are also compared, and there is also indicator value. Also, water balances and cost and revenue models are presented in this kind of nice hierarchical form. And there are other queries like composite indicators. I will get a little bit technical now, but it's just important for reference. When we talk about indicator value standardization, what is a trend now in benchmarking? For example, if we have indicator value for water coverage, 80%, it means that we have indicator scale from 0% to 100%. And if we want to standardize this value, meaning that we want to present it from lowest performance, that could be 0, to the biggest performance, that would be 100, we would have standardization scale, which is the same as indicator scale. Now we have here a standardization function. I will not go deep into that, but in this case, we have the same scales. But if we have utilities where we have the lowest performance, sorry for this, we have lowest performance at 60%. What we can do is to move a lower bound up, so that 0 standardized value will be at 60%. Also, sometimes we may have reversed indicators. So the highest performance is the lowest value. For example, non-revenue water, the principle is the same. So now we have results of these 16 utilities, for example, and one way to compare them is to put them in different quartiles. So in quartile 1, we'll have 25% best performing utilities. Then in quartile 2, the next 25, etc. We can see that our utility is in third quartile. Sorry for this. It is recorded from. Okay. We can see that our utility is in third quartile, meaning that 50% of utilities is better than this utility, and at least 25% of utilities is below its performance. Between quartile 2 and quartile 3, we always have median value. What is good with horizontal presentation of quartiles is that we can put all indicators into one line, meaning that we can actually compare utilities according to number of indicators in a very condensed form. Now we have this kind of report, and this was so far used in our standard reports. When it comes to composite indicators, they are becoming a trend from one aspect, because we don't only want to discuss results among sector professionals who may know what it means to have 30% non-revenue water, etc. We want to discuss also these results with local governments, with public, of course, also with regulators. And it is then better to present results in a standardized way, so in range from 0 to 100. We have here example from danube.org. This is Water Utility Performance Index, and it is made within the Danube Water program. We have 10 indicators. Each indicator contributes equally to the overall index. And we have here lower and higher bounds. And we can conclude, for example, here that for Subotica in this year, the water utility performance index was 82.909. So it's much more friendly way to present results to, let's say, people who are outside of the sector. Another example of composite indicators is, or index, use of index is example of regulatory agency for energy and water services in Montenegro. In 2019, the agency adopted rules on benchmarking of service providers. And I would say it is quite smart way of using composite indicators. What they did, first of all, they introduced confidence grade to be part of the index. Next thing, what is done, upper and lower regulatory limit for each key performance indicator is provided. And finally, by using weighting factors, regulator distributed responsibility for different key performance indicators between local government and service provider. Because, for example, in number of indicators, service provider cannot do anything without support from the local government, at least in, for example, in Montenegro. So here we can see that coverage, which is responsibility of local government, is actually fully weighted on the local index, meaning the local government. Toward the end, some new features in the UBP platform and the Danube Hub. Now we have greater focus on company, not only on individual services. Essentially, we are using International Water Association variables and indicators. This is the book, and the same one, the similar one is done for wastewater. But what we opened with this hierarchical approach to variables, we opened possibility to also collect some additional information that may go beyond only drinking water and wastewater activities, so that we can understand the company as a whole. Then we have, possibility of reporting in indicators without variables. This is because we want to involve more EU, Western European utilities, so to understand their performance. Then we have a comparison by predefined composite indicators. Now we are developing Danube Hub WUPI, so it's same as WUPI, but it will be for Danube Hub. It is in development. It will be piloted actually tomorrow. Tomorrow we have Danube Hub workshop, and we will discuss results from 2019, and we'll also try to do it through composite indicators. Another thing that we anticipate that we will do, because there is a strong need to approach local governments, that NALAS and IWD will try to develop jointly template report intended specifically for local governments to enable better communication between utilities and local governments. We also expect greater cooperation with regulators, because it's, let's say, another side of regulation, of benchmarking. Then we have also possibility to create custom-made composite indicators for utilities, for example, their 5-year or 10-year planned index, and we can report that in their annual reports. Okay, this is we'll have kind of open doors weekly, but utilities can always address their hub coordinators for any kind of support. Finally, planning for 2021. In June, we start with data collection from data from 2020. In August, we verify collected data. In September, we have another verification of data. In early October, development of reports for utilities. In late October, we have virtual Danube Water Conference with Danube Hub event, possibly virtual Danube Hub workshop. We'll see how this will develop. And then finally in November, December, sometimes January, February, workshop of national sub-regional hubs. That's it. Sorry for maybe I went through time a little bit. But for any questions that you have, you can write to this address.
Thank you very much, Alexander, and your voice held out. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. I know it's not been so good the last little bit, but today it's worked out. Yeah, what you've had now is presentations on the program. The program has different elements depending on whether you're national hub or in the Danube hub. The tools that Alexander described are the basic tools that are made available from IAWD to the hub coordinators and to the institutions running them, in most cases, the national associations. What is important is that you actually hear perhaps from people who are engaged in this activity, people who are using it. We have the benefit of having two persons now who will provide short statements on behalf of their utility and the benefits of these programs or this program for them. We have on the program, you had three people. Unfortunately, as I mentioned at the beginning, is the Ivana Stanisic from Biljana utility was not able to enjoy today because of an internal management meeting that had to take precedence over her participation here. But we're very, very pleased to have Sokol Zafa from Pristina utility who will start us off. Somebody who actually was the first coordinator for the utility benchmarking program in Pristina and now is the CEO of the company. And Sokol, I know that you're under a bit of time pressure because you've got to get to I believe a donor meeting, if I'm not mistaken, but I think you have a few minutes before you do go, and if you can provide the short statement that you wanted to provide for us.
Well, thank you very much, Phil. It's my great pleasure being here. Unfortunately, it's somehow the agenda is a little bit complicated now comparing to all what we are doing at the utility level. But even though I will try to manage, I don't know if you are able to see my screen. I would.
We can see, yeah. You may want to put it on the full, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I put it on the full screen. Thank you very much. Thank you for, let's say, respecting us. And yes, it was quite a little bit, let's say, strange. I moved to water company in 2013, and then in 2014, I became a coordinator for benchmarking, and seems like this is following me, but actually I'm following benchmarking, to be honest, because I need it most now. As far as I can see a lot of parameters and a lot of KPIs on the benchmark platform, not only at the regulatory office on local aspect, I mean on governmental level, but also on international level. So as a water company, as all of the members may know, we are 7 regional water companies in Kosovo. Pristina is one of the biggest water company. Let's say it's the biggest one currently in Kosovo. We give our services to 8 municipalities as a region company, or let's say to more than 35 to 38% of population of Kosovo. Mentioning just the residential customers, not the non-residential that actually they came in through the institution, students and visitors. We don't have too much visitors during COVID due to a situation, but anyhow, we are still managing in a proper manner, and luckily all the water sector, all the utilities managed to supply 24/7 during the pandemic situation. So this is one of the most important issues that I have to mention. But if we go quickly to the benchmark program, I would like to thank the people sitting behind, not just at EAWD, but also to other colleagues, hub coordinators, and to the rest that actually they are trying to give all of their efforts in order to support us as a utilities, including not water company Pristina, but let's say Albanian hub and regional hub. What we won from the project, we must say that a lot of KPIs, maybe we were misinterpreting, or we were getting some data that we thought they are on the way, but unfortunately then we saw that while we were comparing, time by time, we even misunderstood. One of the parameters that we checked on the report, and then we judge on apparent losses, is the consumption liter per capita per day. Compared to the region, we know that more or less 90 liters per capita per day is the average on the region, but if we see on the Europe and if we see the situation, we can say that most probably we have also apparent losses that also they are reported and indicated on every single report to the utilities. So if we compare, let's say, this 88-45 at our utility level, also to Albanian Hub, it's a chart here inserted from the report. It's obvious that we need to increase, let's say, or at least customers need to increase their real consumption on billing aspect, because they are consuming water, but maybe not all the water is going through the water meter, and maybe that's one of the reasons that we are facing apparent losses. So based on this, we can judge on this topic from the managerial aspect. Another issue that we found out on the report are the charts that already described from Alex and from Kati. But there are some issues that we have to stick and to work together also at our local level. Seeing these percentages, it's quite strange, but actually it gives us an opportunity to check our reports if we are reporting wrongly them. And in order to have a proper reporting, then we can see, let's say, a percentage with thousands, 8,000 percentage. This is strange, but we have to be sure actually what we are reporting and how we are judging parameters. Another issue is main failures. This is another aspect that as a utility we want, because we are seeing that, and we are reporting to the donors that our infrastructure is getting old and needs replacement. So basically, if we see such failures and such defects, such leakages, then we can say, okay, that's the reason, one of the reasons also that we are facing real losses due to a lot of failures on the transmission mains. But I have to mention one thing, that while we report mains, let's say, as we call all pipes out of house connections, let's say, or just the connections, but then the rest, we or my colleagues were reporting as mains. We have some issues how to manage this, because in some cases, some authorities, they don't call it, say, mains, a smaller diameters of pipe, but in some cases they call mains the whole network out of house connections. We have to tackle this one locally and then to see how we can judge it properly, but the failures are quite high, as you see. Then, of course, seems like we are having the same feelings with Alex, but of course, reports produce something good, and we have to show it not only once maybe, but to show it in a proper manner. That, of course, this water balance is, let's say, one of the best options that the program produces or the reports shows. Not only the coloring aspect, but also the parameters that we can show. It's quite comparable with the international water balance prepared by Limburger, but this is much more visible, and everyone can see it and can judge it easily, even if he's not an engineer, or even if he have a different background. It's much easier to judge on it and to see actually the KPIs. So that was from my side quickly, but I was just wondering, trying to mention, let's say, the most benefits that we had through the reports and through the program to see actually where do we stand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sokol. And as I said at the outset, I understand you have to leave, at least when you leave. If there are questions that do arise, that we will see if you're there or not. But thank you for that. And as a chief executive officer of a company, you clearly, are utilizing these materials in your operations and to present the information. And as somebody who actually started with the program, knowing what is going on, and I think I've explained very well what the benefits are for you. Just before I turn the floor over to our second presenter, another active person involved in the benchmark community, has been for a number of years, Darius Bor from our utility member in Satamara. I just want to say that if you do have questions, please put them in the question and answers chat, and we will have not a whole lot of time for questions, but we will have some, and we can in any case follow up with you. Darius Bor, as I've indicated, is someone who's been actively involved in the program as a member of the Danube Hub, but has also participated in the Romanian benchmarking program. And Darius, I would turn the floor over to you for some comments on the benefits of such a program to you as a utility manager.
Thank you, Philip. Hello, everybody. I see we have a lot of participants. That's good also for the utility benchmarking program for IAVD's association, of course, and for us, the participants. I'm happy to see that the number is high. I also take the opportunity to salute my colleagues from Romania, from regulatories, consultants, and operators. I'm happy to see that I'm not alone in this conference, but I also have a few colleagues from Romania. Because the time is limited, I would try to emphasize a few things which I consider it's important to be shared. Of course, as Philip said, I have some experience in benchmarking now, almost more than 12 years of benchmarking, European level, national, regional, whatever level you wish. I do know a few things about benchmarking. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, Philip. I would say that for Apaser Satu Mare and for me, it's important to see what are the levels of benchmarking that you are participating. First of all, it's very important to participate in your national benchmarking exercise because it's an opportunity to see better how you stay in your own country, and of course it's much easier to compare data because the economical part, accounting part of benchmarking is the same. It's ruled by the same specific national rules, so it's important. Regional level, it's even better. I could say why, because you can see in your region as a water company how you're staying, how are the other companies from the countries around you are making, and I think it's important because we need to understand in which area are we staying and which is the performance of your colleagues from around you, because of course it's difficult to overcome the performance of your region. Not that it's not possible, but of course it's important to see that the challenges, especially in this part of Europe, the Central European part and the Eastern part, are facing basically the same history. I refer here also the political and the administrative one. So probably from this regard we can compare each other very well with any company from around Romania, let's say, because I'm talking now as a representative of a water company from Romania. But Bulgaria had the same, Hungary, Poland, Ukraine, Moldova, Albania and Kosovo, the former Yugoslavian countries. I think it's important to see how we are staying in our region. Even better if we compare to the best ones, because Apaser Satu Mare, my water company from Romania, participates, as I said, to the national benchmarking exercise, to the Danube Hub benchmarking exercise, and also we are participating in EBC. Probably almost all of you heard about EBC. What's good in EBC is that there are a lot of companies which are very big and financially strong companies, and their development, it's like all in some regards, just I will catch up the idea later. In some regards, they are in other league. They are in Champions League, and we are having some league among us here. Why I'm saying because partially because as I learned in so many years, it's not important how big you are or how many consumers you are providing services for, because it's important if you are concerned about your performance. And if you are concerned about performance, and I will stress this out, it's not enough to just participate in EBC with some data, which sometimes it's difficult to understand which data you should put in that little box in the benchmarking variable, so-called said our colleague from Kosovo. But in my experience, those things are very easily in a few years can be solved, because after 1, 2, 3 years of continuous participation in a good benchmarking exercise in which you have a good methodology, you can change those data, understand them better. So after a few years of participating in benchmarking exercises, you already have the knowledge and everything, it's on the right path, let's say. And I would like to stress out that, as I mentioned, it's very important to understand that nobody is big or large or small or just medium, because in APASER's situation, we have areas in which are very good, but there are areas in which we are the worst, maybe. If I'm comparing with my colleagues from Romania or at the regional level in the Danube Hub benchmarking exercise, or in the European one, in EBC. But there are areas in which we are excel, of course. And I would like to stress out that you have to use benchmarking in the management. That's very important, not just overview the data, just use those data and see on what you have to work, because without doing this step, it's like you're not making benchmarking at all, shortly.
Thank you, Darius. And actually the last 2 points I think you've made have been extremely important. Is an exercise like this has to be utilized, has to be used by the management to make decisions, to put emphasis on different things. And thank you for stressing that. And also, I think your comment about the fact that it's not we are not here running a sports league where somebody's on top and somebody's at the bottom. The point is that everybody should learn from one another. There may be certain areas where your company may be better. Other companies may have some particular inputs that could help you in your company, and vice versa, where you as a company are very good and can help others in that context. So thank you very much for these remarks. What I would ask is if there are any questions. There has been one, and I would actually give this to Alexander. I think it has been answered, if I'm not mistaken. Is the issue of the water for cleaning purposes in the system as it is it counted as a loss from a water balance point of view?
Well, yeah, let's say all water that is used by utility, it should, I would say, ideally be charged if possible. So the actual reason for use of that water should be determined and someone should be charged. But if not possible, for example, if utility is, let's say, consciously using water for cleaning, it should go into unbilled water, meaning that it is water that is used, but nobody is given an invoice. So it is not loss, not real or apparent loss in the narrow sense of this word, but it is part component of the non-revenue water. So it is water that is not, from which utility does not have revenue.
Thank you, Alexander.
And maybe
there
Soko.
is. Sorry, go ahead, Soko.
Oh, actually, I was intending to say, Phil, was that while we were compiling the reports, or at least my colleagues, we had an issue regarding the loss during the treatment. So basically, we have to separate the water that we extract from the sources and the water during the treatment and the water that we distribute to the system. So the companies are with a lot of varieties. Let's say somebody uses different water sources. Some companies may export the water, some may import the water. So it depends from the utilities. But actually, we had an issue, and we have to be careful also how we report to the local or to national regulatory office, because it's different. I mean, to us at the regulatory level, we report just the distribution, let's say the water distributed into the system, and then revenues. So it's a simple mathematics, meaning just the percentage, and it shows the water loss. But these reports are much more detailed, so everybody has to be careful how they are filling the data.
Yeah, thank you, Sokol. And maybe just to respond to one of the other questions in the chat, is that it indicates that there are 600 utilities monitored in this benchmarking program. The utility benchmarking program is not monitoring so many utilities. As Alexander's pointed out, or Kathy, I guess it was, there's something in the order of around 60 utilities that are part of this program, which are comparing their data with one another. There are other programs, as Darius has pointed out, and Sokol, where at a national level, different utilities are also comparing data. And much of that data is also being put into an international system called the International Benchmarking Network, IBNet, where on the Voice of the Danube site, you can find data from something in the order of 600 utilities from the Danube region. Much of it historical, I must say, but some of it quite up to date. For some of the companies that you've heard from now are ones that are putting that data in. Regulatory authorities are putting that data in. The Montenegro Regulatory Authority is putting data on Montenegro utilities. Similarly, in Bosnia-Herzegovina, the two utility associations are doing so. We're getting to the point, in fact, really coming to the point we wanted to close this session. I will do so. If there's any last questions, please do fire it into the chat. I would like, in wrapping this up, to say thank you to our two utility representatives, to Sokol Zafar and Darius Bor, for their comments. And I would ask any of you who are considering being part of a program to speak to people like this, because as Darius pointed out, it's something that the learning process and simply understanding what data is being put in is valuable. And I think to have the experience of people who have done it is extremely good, and we can certainly make those connections for anybody who wants to connect up with a utility who has been part of the program. Tomorrow will be the utility benchmarking program for the Danube Hub meeting, and Alexander will be meeting with the utilities associated with that. And we are certainly anxious to encourage other utilities to join the program. There is, and I want to stress this here now, a fee for that in terms of the service that is provided, but I think a very limited fee for the benefits that the utility does have. And I would encourage you to have a look and see, as you've seen the information that's been provided in the chat, where you can get all the information on how the program, how to register for the program if you want to join it, either at the Danube Hub level or at the national level. Or, as Darius again has pointed out, is the importance of having the benchmark at a national level, knowing with your colleagues what's happening. In Romania, that's the case. In Kosovo, that's the case. In Montenegro now, there's a basis for that. In Bosnia-Herzegovina, this comparison with people, your neighbors, people of your own language and background is extremely worthwhile. But as others have stressed, it's very good to look over the borders of your national institutions and see how you compare to others. With that, I would like to draw this session to a close, to thank Alexander for his presentation, and particularly with a very poor what do you call it, Stimmband in German is the voice. He managed very, very well. To Kathy Schilling for her presentation on the overall basis of operation, and to Walter Kling and Stipa Gabric for their introductory remarks. The Danube Water Program was the basis under which many of these activities have gotten started. The IWD has taken them over, this particular part of it, and managed this to support utilities as we see it as a service for our association to help utilities understand their operations better and to be able to organize activities. And above all, I would like to thank all of you for participating. If you have any follow-up questions or comments, please do convey those to us either through the Voice of the Danube or directly to the IAWD address that has been in the chat. And thank you for taking the time to participate. We look forward to a successful round of benchmarking exercises this year, but the Danube level, but also at the different regional levels in Kosovo and Albania, in Bulgaria, Ukraine, as well as in the Danube hub. So many, many thanks to all of you, and thank you, and good afternoon to everybody. Bye-bye.